All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Marine Corps Installations West and the entire Naval X SoCal Tech Bridge team, welcome to Marine Corps Air Station Miramar for the Electric Unmanned Logistics System demonstration. First, our strategy. We leverage the Southern California ecosystem assets of installations, industry, and research to unlock emerging technology through non-traditional partnerships. We've got a really dense population of military here in the Southern California region. We've got on our installations, real people, real missions, trying to solve real problems. San Diego is the country's 8th largest city. It sits inside those borders, right? And we boast a pretty large, deep roster of tech companies that are looking at new technologies, those capabilities, and they're very diverse. And we learn through them. And then Southern California has dozens of research universities constantly exploring new ideas around these technological capabilities. We also learn from them. We believe that a collaborative market can be established that enables mutually beneficial opportunities for DoD and commercial industry to partner. And this collaborative market is the foundation for a better business model, which unlocks the future of DoD R&D, requirements development, and prototyping. The result is what you see here today. On display, we have 5 of our strategic technology areas: electric mobility, energy resilience, unmanned logistics, counter-intrusion, unmanned aerial systems traffic management. And actually, the 6th is 5G. How can you miss that thing? We have strategic partners here across all those technology areas, and we hope that you go and talk to them, because they will unlock your imagination about the future of the battlefield. Each of our efforts here at the SoCal Tech Bridge have to accomplish at least 2 things. First, close our knowledge gaps around the technology being explored. Second, identify the applicable concepts of employment around that technology across national defense. This morning, you will see a demonstration of electric and unmanned vehicles delivering logistics on the battlefield, connected by 5G and complemented by counter-intrusion and UAS traffic management capabilities. After the demonstration, we hope that you will go visit all of our partners and learn more from them about their companies, their technology, and their concepts of employment, what they see their technology doing for us in the future. So with that, please turn your attention to Lieutenant Colonel Newell, who will lead us on a journey into the future.
All right, welcome everyone. So thanks to Major Steve Harvey. If he didn't mention it, he is the legacy. He will take over this program as I depart Friday, actually. I have a retirement ceremony on Friday. And so, thank you. It's been a great 20 years, and this is no better way to send out than everything that we've been working as a group, industry and partners across Department of Defense, across federal government, local, state government, and then into industry as well. It's meant to, as Steve mentioned, unlock all of our imagination as to where things are going in the future. So, what you're going to be seeing today is about unmanned logistics on the battlefield, a 2-year program that's been sponsored by Office of Secretary of Defense for Operational Energy. And so we're going to show you the technology, and as Steve mentioned, it's never about just the technology. It's also about the new concept of employment, of how that technology transforms our warfighting functions in the future. We have set up here with our partners, an electric and connected battlefield. It's going to highlight for you self-driving in the warfighting function of logistics. And so there's an acronym that I want you to hold as you go through and hear about this scenario as you meet with the different companies. It's ALEC, A-L-E-C, autonomy, logistics as a warfighting function, as an application, energy, and connected. So we've set up a scenario here, trying to block the wind as much as I can. We've set up a scenario with Act 1 and Act 2 where we're going to walk you through these phases. In Act 1, we're going to show you what you see in front of you as an electric and connected patrol base of the future. Now, it's not painted green. I'm painted green. I'm up here representing that. We're not worried about the integration right now. We're not worried about the weaponizing right now. What we're worried about is unlocking the imagination as to where the technology and where human potential brings us with the technology moving forward. So, with that, in Act 1, we're talking electric and connected battlefield represented by the companies you see here today. I'll walk you through each of those areas and each of the technologies. In Act 2, we're going to do the A and the L, autonomy or self-driving with logistics. And so you'll see the scenario that Robotic Research walks us through on how we do a resupply mission. And then that leads us into Act 3. Act 3 is about you all. We call these events collision events. It's about us all colliding with the technology and us all colliding with each other. And so Act 3 is about you mingling with each of the companies, mingling with each other. Why would our program and I host an event on the last couple of days of me wearing a uniform? It's because it was never about me, and it was never about our program. It was about you. It was about tearing down the walls between industry, between different federal entities, between state and local government, as I mentioned. So tomorrow, we're actually having the Electric Mobility Symposium. That scenario and that event is all focused on commercial applications of energy and mobility and connectivity. Capabilities that we'll see on our bases under our program Installation Next. And so these events are collision events because it's really about you colliding with each other. You colliding with the imagination to see what the future looks like. You colliding and creating opportunity for us all. So with that, I'm going to walk you through an overview of each of the companies that are here and why we've invited them. And so you have a framework to this representation of electric and connected battlefield of the future. And so we built our 5G program, 5G Living Lab around 4 different enabled technology areas that were priorities to us. Connected vehicles was one of them. Autonomous vehicles doing, movement of people and movement of packages. So you'll hear more about that. Drones is another. We learned through our relationship with Qualcomm years ago that the future of drones is not just an RF remote control, but it will actually be cellular. And so the access that we have as a partner with Verizon is allowing us to understand the networks that are going to back that and what's so critical about those networks. We have another area we call Digital Fortress. I'll talk to you more about that when we talk about Anduril Industries, a strategic partner of ours in the Digital Fortress for counter-intrusion. And then our 4th area is energy connectivity or energy communications. And so you'll see some of that here, and you'll see more of that next week or tomorrow. We don't talk about counter-intrusion as replacing people. We talk about counter-intrusion as enabling people, making them more effective in their mission, making them more focused on what they need to be doing. And so how do you maintain security across a vast land like this? Looks a lot like a battlefield from my perspective. It's not by roving patrols of a military police in a patrol car with no focused mission, but just hoping we run into something. It's through sensor suites with artificial intelligence and machine learning that have connectivity through cellular, that are touching the cloud, and actually showing us the threat posture of our base locally to the military police, regionally showing me my threat posture on the coastline of Camp Pendleton, 30 miles north of here with our maritime counter-intrusion portfolio, and showing us counter-drone that's getting installed on this base as well. All under Enduro Industries, all as a strategic partner with us at the Tech Bridge here for SoCal. These are on different contracts with different stakeholders and different funding sources across DoD. But this is what we do as a Tech Bridge, is unlock these opportunities to see that it's not individual portfolios, but it's actually a portfolio across the entire threat posture of a base. All right, that's the connected side. On the electric side, the other aspect here. So I'm obviously standing on a Danner mobile power system. This same capability is that Base Andrews is seeing all of the applications they can do with the heavy equipment modules that are on these, that come with this platform. They're seeing what they can do with 250 kilowatt hours or 500 kilowatt hours of energy storage on a rolling platform for energy resilience of a base, where I traditionally put a generator that I never turn on outside every single building to provide resilience. And so you can see the future as we move away from internal combustion engine is not a one-for-one swap. That is a purpose-built platform every time. I'm going to do a front loader. I'm going to do a backhoe. I'm going to do a bulldozer. I'm going to do a generator only. What you have here in these electric platforms of the future are dynamic. They're modular. They're mobile. They are a portfolio-driven platform. And that is the true unlock that we want you to see with the electric battlefield of the future. We want you to see that exportable energy off of a platform like this changes how we see energy. Traditionally, only fuel, requiring a generator on the distant end. How that changes changes energy distribution across the battlefield of the future. We also have Bollinger with their awesome truck. So we were looking at different platforms with Robotic Research in this iterative design program about what we were going to build our unmanned logistics systems out of. And so we were scouring the country for the best in breed that would be great partners in what we developed. It came down to the Danner and the Bollinger with doing that. And so we have fostered a relationship with both actually in coming here today. And so we are so excited for you to learn more, not just about the truck, but about the electric chassis that's under the truck that can enable modular builds for different purpose-built, purpose-designed missions. That is the true unlock of electric platforms, electric skateboards, and electric chassis of the future, all with exportable energy as well. So what we've tried to highlight here is great partners, and we've tried to help show everyone that the battlefield of the future is electric and connected. What we have right here is a static representation of what I would call a patrol base. Again, don't worry about the integration. Don't worry about painted green and weaponized. Worry about the unlock to the capabilities that we'll see in the future. So let me set the stage for Act 2, Autonomy and Logistics. All right, what you see now is a representation of a squad getting in our Bollinger. Bollinger being an all-electric platform really becomes a mobile command operations center for a squad level unit in our mind, or a fire team. And so as they move into position, we, the patrol base here, have sent them out on a mission. Let's say they're 10 kilometers away. Let's say they're 15, 20 kilometers away. We're sending them on a mission that was dynamically designed and planned this morning, and they're going out. And so as we send them out, you can cue them to get in position. So we're representing how mobile and modular that warfighting capability is of the future. You're also seeing how quiet it is. you're seeing that the battlefield becomes much more agile into the future. And so you can imagine that they're going out on a large mission, that they're changing their mission sets over and over, and we don't know where they're going to end up each time. But we know that they need to be resupplied. Whether they've been out for a week, whether they've been out for 2 days. We don't know what type of capability they're going to need, but we know that they're going to require logistics on the battlefield. We're planning missions. As soon as we know we need to do a resupply, it requires a driver. The second we design a resupply that requires a driver, that risk to life starts to compound. I put a secondary, an A driver in the seat next to the driver. And I say, the risk is so great, not to my resupplies, but to my warfighting function, to my warfighters, that I pause it all. And so, in a manned scenario, I keep slowing down. I want to aggregate these different scenarios. What you're seeing as I'm talking is our unmanned logistics system in the background. How do you say that? So it's moving autonomously. It is not remote control. It has waypoints. It is sensing its environment, and it is moving with its resupplies to a location that I've told it to go. It's represented by where the squad just paused, where I thought they would be. But as you saw, I had to send them out on a different mission. That's our resupply point. We marked it on the ground. My vehicle's going to that location now. It's going to drive up on you in a moment. So what we're talking about here is the difference between dynamic response, disaggregated logistics, or distributed operations versus how we would have been fighting in Afghanistan for years, where I build up a convoy, where I put a gun truck in front of the convoy, I put a gun truck in behind the convoy. And because the risk to life is so great that I say, let me not just go to one patrol base. Let me create a wagon wheel route that's going to hit patrol base Alpha, and then Bravo, and then Charlie. So let me aggregate all those goods. What did we do? We became slow. We became bulky. We actually turned our vehicles into, quasi-tanks, thinking that the risk from IEDs was going to be defeated by armament. It's defeated by agility, by being agile on the battlefield. And so the scenario that you have here is you cannot fight unmanned logistics the same way we fought manned logistics. It has to be a new concept of employment. It can't be done the same way. I'm not going to aggregate a bunch of unmanned platforms and have them go in a convoy, aggregating all my risk to goods, making them more vulnerable. No, the real unlock here is the dynamic nature to the warfighting function that we're doing. And so, as the unmanned logistics system pauses in the wash, so it's out on its mission, it's doing the resupply. Here at the command center for the patrol base, we understand that you saw the one sailor that got out representing a fire team, went out into the bush. They're critically low in batteries. They are requiring a resupply in batteries now. And so as our platform is out on its mission, we say we know we have batteries. We have batteries on that platform, and we're going to take that off. So with that, the Pegasus is launched. So here, I couldn't fly it because we could not get the clearance in the airspace right now to fly the drone. But our awesome partners at Robotic Research don't just have a drone that flies. They have the Pegasus that has tracks as well. So let's say that the resupply needed to happen and we wanted it to land somewhere else. I didn't want to show where my fire team was in the bush. I didn't want to give away the location to the surrounding area. And so it landed with the battery and then drove on to its mission. That's also energy. Because the way I want to optimize this platform is that it's not just about flight. Because flight takes a lot more energy out of the batteries, that it can actually do a lot of its mission on the ground. And so extending the range. So what Robotic Research has installed in the Pegasus is a magnetic claw that holds onto a battery. You can pause it there. Did we already get the battery? My fire team came out? Okay, I missed it. So that was the resupply mission. It was so concealed that I missed it from up here. The point that we're trying to show here is that it's not a static battlefield. Logistics cannot be a static warfighting function. It has to be dynamic on the battlefield. As we create more and more distributed operations with agile operations to defeat a near peer, where we don't have air superiority, we cannot grow and bulk up in patrol bases, where we are known vulnerability, where we enhance our vulnerability. And so with that, we need dynamic, distributed capabilities. And we believe, and we have shown through this program, that unmanned logistics is the way we're going to do that. Now we say on the distant edge. I'm not showing you a scenario here with a large Army-style forward operating base. Our most vulnerable and the tip of the spear, the hardest for us to resupply is at the edge of the battlefield. Convoys give us away. Convoys slow us down. And so what we're showing you here is that these unmanned logistics systems will be fought differently, that they will keep up with the battlefield as distributed ops are integrated more and more. So this is the same Danner platform that I'm standing on now, but that's been outfitted by Robotic Research's technology that we see in commercial and defense applications to be automated. It is self-driving as we speak. So it's coming on the resupply point right now. It's carrying the logistics that we sent it out on its mission on. And so now, after the secondary mission that our squad conducted, they're now syncing back up with that platform. What we have represented in the box is MREs, meals ready to eat. So that's their resupply of food. We have ammo cams representing ammunition that needed to be resupplied. You see coming off the side is 5-gallon jerry cans, we call them, with water. And then we even have a battery pack for another program that's coming off and that can stay with them. Now at this point, we did not plan this, but we realized the secondary mission for that Bollinger squad depleted their batteries. The Bollinger needs a recharge. Traditionally, I'd be sending out fuel to this location. I would have had to plan it before. But now, because of exportable energy, because of the modular dynamic mission set that these electric platforms have on the battlefield, we can dynamically meet the demand signal. And we decide, look, I've got enough energy in the unmanned logistics system to get it back home. I can prioritize some of that energy to now transfer, what we call exportable energy, onto the Bollinger. And so I am now enabling them to the next mission. They do not have to return to my patrol base. I've set them up for the mission after mission at that point. And so as they recharge, again, dynamically deciding all of these different value streams on the battlefield. What is my prioritization for the connectivity? What is my prioritization for energy? What is my prioritization for the potential energy in that mobile power system? Do I have another mission for it? Do I have another resupply mission? How many assets do I have on that platform? How many will I prioritize to this squad versus the next squad I want to support? And so this scenario is meant to unlock your imagination of how we do this in the future. How will logistics keep up with distributed operations across the battlefield? And so, with that, that concludes our Act 2 of selling the resupply. I want you to envision now that the Danner, whether it's this one or that one, is coming back. I don't have a huge fuel depot here that I had to support with long lines, sometimes contracted, to resupply me in the region. But energy in a grid, potential energy in that form, is ubiquitous. The battlefield of the future is largely urban. It is in locations that has cellular. It is in locations that has grids. I want us to understand the scavenging opportunity on that battlefield of the future. I always joke for 20 years that in the Marine Corps we're the gypsies of the battlefield. Everything we need has to come with us. And so we had to design capabilities that could go to Afghanistan in the middle of the summer or go to North Korea in the middle of the winter. Over and over, I had to build this capability set that I didn't know where I'd go with around the world. Now, as we see, the battlefield of the future is in a technological environment. How can we capitalize on that? If I'm on a humanitarian assistance mission, I'm responding to an earthquake. 2010, I was in Haiti 10 days after the earthquake there. Palace had crumbled. No infrastructure, no power, no communication. How can I roll in on that mission when it's a welcoming country, when the government is welcoming us to come to help them? Humanitarian assistance mission. And so, what if they had parts of their grids that I could actually ask to use so that I could take advantage as a host nation? They enabled our capability to help them. What if they had a cellular networks that were still active? What if we didn't have to set up all of our own networks and we could ask for that permission? What do we need to know about that network? What do we need to know about the grid to interface with this technology? Now, what about the invasion of Iraq? That's not a compliant host nation. That's an invasion. What if the speed and agility I need is not setting up antenna farms, not setting up all my own networks, not setting up power distribution and fuel fuel chain? What if I could scavenge? What if I could scavenge in such a way that they didn't even know I was scavenging? This is what we do with the SoCal Tech Bridge. We unlock what the future application is of the battlefield. We unlock not in a single platform, not in a suite of platforms. We unlock in the concepts of employment that are going to optimize those capabilities on the battlefield. And so, can I get a time hack, Steve? This has been an iterative design program over 2 years. The capability you saw here was first designed a year ago, and we demonstrated it in July. It was a completely different ground vehicle. It had 2 drones on it, one to be the eyes in the sky and one to be the resupply drone. You all in your packet as you were coming should have seen the demonstration of that last year and how we took that on an 8-wheel mutt that was a Army mission built platform, system of systems. We took that and started designing what this future looked like. But then we took that feedback from that collision event last summer and we designed the next round. We needed a more capable electric and connected platform. And so Brian from Robotic Research is going to talk to us a little bit about the iterative design that we did, incorporating their other programs from other sponsors into the capability that we were showing today.
Non-engineering approach to, or the non-engineering explanation of what you saw with this demonstration and some of that technology. When we think about autonomous vehicles or automated vehicles, a lot of times we're thinking on-road applications, the lane keeping, the cruise control kind of applications. That type of role is a structured environment. It's defined roads, lane markings, infrastructure, those kind of things. What you saw today is an off-road autonomy or off-road capability. It's a much more complicated problem, in my opinion. You're dealing with complex terrain. You're dealing with rough terrain, maybe rocks on the trail. It's unstructured, and we don't know what that terrain looks like before we get there. So the system has to be able to navigate that terrain. It has to be able to understand what's ahead of the vehicle. It has to be able to understand the vehicle's capabilities, the vehicle size, what it can cross, what it can't cross, and make decisions based on what is the best ability or the best capability for that vehicle to negotiate the terrain. Again, all of that is done in real time, and it's done without previous knowledge. So that's a far different challenge than what we normally think about autonomy. This is a capability that Robotic Research has been developing for nearly 20 years. It's kind of where the company started on the off-road side and developed that ability to navigate off-road. And we are now leveraging that on more commercial on-road programs using that experience and knowledge from navigating off-road. So what that benefits in, it's less need for infrastructure on the road. That's the need, lane markings and those kind of things aren't necessary. So on this project, as Colonel mentioned, last year, if you're familiar with the project, we had an 8-wheeled mutt running autonomously with 2 Pegasus in the air. Today, we demonstrated the ground capability of the Pegasus. It has 2 modalities, and that was the ground side of it. So much more runtime, and just another way to use that platform. We demonstrated the Danner platform, and I'd like to thank our engineering team on this one. We've had the vehicle for roughly 4 months and been able to integrate our technology and make this vehicle autonomous in a very short order. 4 months ago, that vehicle had no sensor kit on it. We took the lessons learned from the last project, or year 1 of the project, integrated on the vehicle, and now we were able to run it today completely unmanned. So I think that's a really good accomplishment. And kudos to the team on that one. And this technology, it evolves in other platforms. It's not just for a Danner platform or an 8-wheeled mutt. We have a variety of platforms and programs right now. For example, running on logging roads in Canada, moving timber from the forest to the mill. We have projects where we're using trucks to move sand from a mine site. There's a variety of ways that this technology can be used, not only on this space, in the off-road space, but in commercial applications that continue to grow. So maybe key takeaways are, it's a very scalable technology. We're vehicle agnostic on what this gets put on, and it's very adaptable.
I wanted to highlight there that this is not traditional R&D. We call this agile R&D. Agile R&D is the only thing that's going to enable an agile operation in the future. Sandwiched between those 2 things is acquisition. Unless we get agile acquisitions right, we will never realize the opportunity of agile R&D into agile operations. And so that's why it becomes so imperative that you all are immersed in these capabilities, that you all see the fruit and the opportunity, the ones that we don't even see as a team. The iterative design of this program has been intentional all along. OSD Operational Energy, Ms. Ruth Ann Darling, who's funded this program for the last 2 years, broke her leg last week. Dr. Paul Jaffe is going to represent them on the panel later. But they took a chance on us. We were talking about unlocking emerging technology. We were talking about Uber Elevate, and electric vertical takeoff and landing, air taxis that you've been hearing about in 2016, 2017. We were talking about the early adoption of that on the battlefield would be for logistics. We were talking about our access to FedEx and UPS and others in the commercial space, and understanding this vision that they had of the future, that FedEx truck would roll into your neighborhood unmanned, and then a suite of drones would fly off and bring a package down to your front door. A teaming effect. This is how we have to think of the future. And it can't just be those portfolios. It can't just be the individual platforms. It's got to be the enablement behind it. It's got to be the electric, and it's got to be the connected that's going to enable that. And it won't happen on its own. The concepts of employment are critical. Whenever you do requirements development acquisition in the government, it all starts with the key performance parameters and key system attributes. It starts with understanding not just how the technology works, but how is it fought? How is it operated? What's it used for? And that's the only way we get to that future. Not just a swap, a manned vehicle for an unmanned vehicle. No, it's a whole new warfighting function. And we believe at the SoCal Tech Bridge, the only way to do that is through our collaborative markets. The only way to do that is taking the precedent set with our partners in their commercial applications or their other programs and pulling them forward into the defense application. Thinking about how Verizon is going to, in my terms, fight Thor in a disaster across the nation. And what can we learn from how they fight it when they built it and they secured it? What can we learn about Danner applying their capabilities on work sites around the country or on Joint Base Andrews? What can we learn about the electric vehicle, electric truck unlock from Bollinger and companies like it across the country? And so that's why it's so critical that all of you take this time, and what we're calling Act 3 is to immerse yourself. We want you to mingle. We want you to ask all the questions. we create this space, this collaborative market that facilitates DoD and industry's ability to come together.